So, the title of this research report is Responding to COVID-19 Experiences of Vocational Learning and Teaching from Colleges in the British Isles. And we worked with the University of Nottingham, specifically a researcher there called Holly Henderson, who is now a further education lecturer at Fircroft College. So, people who should be interested in the results would be anyone involved in teaching and learning at colleges, specifically within the further education space, because this research took place at colleges. And because we looked at online learning, those who are still delivering online learning could learn from the benefits and the challenges that we found in our results. So Edge decided to undertake this piece of research because there was a limited amount of research available during COVID-19, especially within education, and even more limited research on islands, and even more limited research on colleges in islands. So that's why we were interested in looking at specifically the vocational education provision on island colleges in across the British Isles and what was happening there during COVID. So there are a lot of key findings from this report, and they are categorized as responding to the research questions of this project. So some of the themes that we found, examples of some of these findings include how the mode of delivery was changed, specifically in vocational courses online. So a lot of the delivery was more theory based than practice based, which of course for vocational courses is quite different. And from staff and students and senior leadership team, they voiced within this study that they had to rely more on theory because it was quite impossible to do a lot of the practical work that was required in these vocational courses online. Another finding is that the resources and accessibility of digital tools such as laptops really determined how well online learning of vocational courses could be administered. So if students didn't have laptops, then of course they couldn't access the online learning. And over time, when lockdown did happen, the colleges in this study were able to send out laptops to their students who needed them most, and that allowed for them to access their learning. Another finding is the change in employer engagement. So employer engagement is very important during within vocational courses, and unfortunately, during COVID, this stopped completely. But in some of the courses that we spoke to within these colleges, it was paused for a short period of time, and there were some creative ways that some staff members were able to bring on employer engagement. Another finding is digital literacy of staff and students also determined how well online learning could work for some of these vocational courses, because it really depended on the digital skills that staff had to be able to really be creative in how they adapted or translated the course provision online. And same with students, their digital skills would determine how well they could access these courses. And actually, to the surprise of a lot of staff, some students didn't have the digital skills that they assumed that they would to be able to really engage with the learning online. Yeah. The findings also will show quite a few benefits and challenges that were voiced from staff, from students, and from senior leadership team about online learning, and if they prefer online learning or if they don't. And as you'll see within the report, there are more challenges to online learning than there are benefits. One of the main benefits is the flexibility that it provided for staff and students. However, on that as well, there are some challenges to the flexibility. So although students voiced that it was flexible for them to be able to continue their learning online, and that it wasn't paused completely during COVID. It also really depended on their home circumstances, how flexible they could be at home. So those are just some of the findings of this study.
The findings are relevant right now because although most educational provision has returned to an in-person teaching model, which more closely resembles kind of pre-COVID provision, online learning often still features and some format of this delivery. Many colleges and educational providers want to continue in some kind of blended learning approach in the future. And this research really highlights some of the benefits and challenges that people might want to consider when delivering online courses, particularly those practical and vocational courses. One of the most surprising findings was about the creativity of the lecturers. Many really wanted to ensure their students' education continued to be an exciting experience, even if they were in lockdown and stuck in their homes. For example, art and fashion students were given home projects to do around their home using the clothes and resources that were available to them, and then used the online tools as a medium for communication and showcasing their work to their peers and their teachers. An additional thing that was quite surprising was that lecturers really took on a much more pastoral role for their students, and their workload increased because they were having to support their students a lot more and were communicating with them outside of normal office hours, providing the kind of support that they hadn't been expected to when they were been in person. So it really did highlight the kind of important and dedicated roles that the staff were playing in the colleges. Some of the changes that I think it's important for policymakers and practitioners to consider is the availability of resources. This is hugely important for students' learning, mostly digital resources, and not just having a laptop, but also the reliability of the internet connection. This is crucial for education providers to have enough money to ensure that all students have kind of equal access to the resources that they need to continue their learning. Another key consideration would be around digital skills. It was so important that not just students, but also staff had up-to-date and more advanced digital skills to help deliver their provision. And it's not just some subjects that require digital skills, but this is across all vocational learning. And it's going to be an aspect, or already is an aspect, of so many jobs, and everybody needs to be equipped with the sufficient digital skills that they need for their future work and lives. People can find out more about this research through EDGE's website. The report is available to download in EDGE's research publications section on the website.